Ladies and gentlemen, once again,
As a kid, he dreamt of a professional tennis career. He was convinced he could be champion. On his path, he became a good junior player but was unable to fulfill his dream. He did not get his chance. 10 years later, at the age of 26, he decided to fulfill his destiny by giving others a chance to manifest their dreams by creating his own tennis academy. He found a way to transform failure and frustration into motivation to help others reach their dreams while also allowing him to reach his and find professional success in the sport of tennis. The Mouratoglou Tennis Academy became one of the top 3 academies in the world. He then evolved into a personal coach after several requests from players. His first experience was with Marcos Baghdatis, who he helped drive from a 13-year-old to a junior world champion. And then in 2006, Marcos reached the final of the Australian Open, ultimately losing to Roger Federer after defeating a list of decorated players along the way, including Andy Roddick. The same year, he also reached the Wimbledon semifinal and broke into the top 10. He then worked with a 17-year-old Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, who rose from number 300 to number 27 in the WTA rankings. It earned her Most Improved Player of the Year by the WTA. Next up was Aravan Rezai. She jumped from the number 60 ranking to the number 17 ranking in the WTA in only 8 months, recording victories over all top 5 players in that time. She also won more prize money in the 8-month period than in her total earnings over her career. The next call came from Frenchman Jeremy Chardy, who was at a difficult stage in his career. Coach Mouratoglou put him back on track. Jeremy ended up saving the French Davis Cup team with a major victory over Austria. The next challenge was Grigor Dimitrov, a young and promising talent who he guided into the top 50 of the ATP rankings. After his experience taking players to the next level, he was ready for a champion. The whole tennis world is impressed by the revival of a champion. The media dubs Mouratoglou the Mastermind. Vanity Fair ranks him in the top 50 most influential French personalities in the world. Martina Hingis calls him the mentalist.
This is the match number 1 Andy Murray was supposed to play.
Tried to come to the net. They both did it.
Patrick Mouratoglou also wears many hats. He is a tennis consultant and commentator on Eurosport International. He writes a monthly column in 12 different tennis magazines around the world. He also has his own blog on Eurosport and Yahoo with a monthly readership of 500,000 people. He's also an author with his first book, Educate to Win, published in 2009, and another on the way in 2015. Patrick has also created Champ Seed, a charitable foundation that aims to support the best prospects in tennis to fulfill their dreams and careers. The Mouratoglou Academy is also evolving and expanding with its move to Nice in the French Riviera to become the biggest tennis academy in Europe. Patrick Mouratoglou seems to have the key to success, but luck has nothing to do with it. It is based on the courage, work ethic, precision, will, and commitment to achieve what it takes to succeed. It is a combination of knowledge, psychology, and methods that he will be sharing with you.
What
We're
you
all
guys don't
friends.
know-
We're all friends. That's why we're kissing.
Yes. We do that in Mexico, we get killed. What you don't know is that we've known each other for a long time. We used to play tennis together. He was way better than I was, for sure. And he's still way better. So, congrats. My first question to you is going to be, why do they call you a mentalist? What makes the difference between a great coach and a normal coach?
I think I was very lucky when I started to coach because I was different from the other coaches. The other coaches had a lot of knowledge and I knew nothing. And this is true. I didn't know anything. I never had any diploma. And I started to coach. It was not planned. My plan was to run my tennis academy. And the story, I make it short, but I had another name at my academy. The name of the academy was Bob Brett, who was a great coach. And one day he stopped and he left. And I thought that my investment was terrible because I invested in his name for 6 years and the guy disappeared. And I had to restart, in a way, my business from zero, from scratch. So then I decided to put my name instead of somebody else's name. But I was not a coach, so then I decided to become a coach because it didn't make sense to have an academy with my name if I was not a coach. That's how I started. So I didn't know anything about tennis. I mean, I knew tennis, but I didn't know about coaching. And that was my luck because even today, if I have to work with a new player, I will go there and think that I don't know anything. And I think that's exactly the right attitude to have. The right attitude is to start from zero because you don't know the player, you don't know his culture of tennis, you don't know his assets, you don't know his weaknesses, you don't know his relationship with this sport, with his environment, and you have to discover all that in order to maybe one day take some decisions for him or for her. And since you don't know that, you can't take any decision. And because I didn't know anything, I didn't take any decision. I was trying to understand, which is the right attitude. And I think that's the big difference. I think a lot of coaches have knowledge and they try to apply what they learned. Maybe what they learned in the books, maybe what they learned with a previous player, but that's not right. What worked for a player doesn't work for another player. And that's what's great about this job. It's something you start again and again and again all the time. And even after a few seasons with Serena, I just try to erase what I have here. And I want to see her as I'd never knew her before, and maybe I will go with something new. And that's very important. And I think that's a big difference. So why they call me like that? Probably because, most of my job is to enter into the other one's mind, understand how they process things, and just make them do the right thing at the right time, change behaviors when it's necessary to get the result they want. So it's very much about entering into the other one's psychology to help them achieve what they want to achieve, because everything is very mental. I know you know a lot of guys who have talent, but they don't dare doing what they could do and what they dream about doing. A lot of players also, they all dream about being number one. But if you look at what they're doing, most of them don't do what they should do to become number one because they have a lot of fears. They have the fear of failing. They have the fear of maybe working hard and not achieving what they want to achieve. Sometimes they just have a lot of talent and everybody told them they have so much talent, and if they fight and they lose, maybe that will mean they don't have so much talent, they don't want to risk that. They don't know all these things, but they process all these things in their mind, and a lot of times it makes them do the wrong choices. And when you have to take the wrong choices, then you don't have the right result. So my job is to come there and understand how they process, understand how when they process wrong, and change those things so they do the right. They have the right attitude, they do the right thing, and they get what they want at the end. And they always get higher than they ever expected, all of them, because the fear just make them see not as far as they could.
So your job is to get in the head, and so it's a lot about details. I remember when working in tennis, the relation between a coach and a player is very seen, is very intimate. A very few words make a big difference. Can you explain about that?
Yeah, I think that's in a way what I explained. First of all, it's a lot about the trust. And when I speak to coaches, I tell them, don't do too many things at the same time. One goal is enough, and you have to go step by step. The first step is to get the trust from the player. If the player trusts you, you say one word, it's so powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And that's the first thing. You have to get this power over the player. You're not going to use it for bad things. You're going to use it for good things, to help them achieve what they want to achieve. But this power is really necessary. And it's difficult in tennis because the players pay the coaches. So they have the power over the coaches, and most of the coaches are afraid because they don't want to lose their job, so they don't want to take risks. And that's the first thing they have to overcome. Because if you're scared to lose your job, you're not going to take the right decisions. You're not going to have the right attitude. You're not going to dare saying what you have to say sometimes. So this is the first thing you have to overcome. And the ideal situation is that even though the player is paying you, he has to be afraid to lose you. And this is a situation you have to create. I know it doesn't sound good to say that, but that's the truth. Because if you don't have the power over the player, you're not going to take the right decisions, and you're going to be always scared. And when you're scared, you don't act right. You don't act right. So this is the thing you have to do.
Yeah, that's a massive difference with team sports, where the coach is deciding who's on the field of play, and the player is always scared of being. Well, he wishes to be on the field of play. We've seen it with Mbappe last week.
Exactly. Yeah, that actually was good. It was very interesting.
Yeah,
that was the first guy. I mean, one of the first guys who were not afraid of the star. Of course, you have to keep a good relationship with your players. You cannot be in that type of relationship. But sometimes you have to make a point. They have to see that there are limits, and then you keep the power. If you don't have the power, you can't do anything. So you need it, and it's a real job to get it. And once you get it, you have to keep it. So it's a constant fight, not an obvious fight, but it's a fight. You have a very subtle fight sometimes, but this is the first goal.
And maintaining it for years, like it has been for Serena, it's even more difficult, I would suppose.
Of
because
course.
you know each other a lot. So how can you add value still when you know each other a lot?
I mean, in a way, the more you know the player, the more you can add value. Yeah. Because, I mean, when you know a player perfectly, you know that you press that button, you have that reaction. So you kind of can anticipate everything. You can anticipate also the behaviors. You can anticipate the stress. So it's kind of a big asset to know the player well. But of course, on the long term, to keep the power, it's very difficult. And also those players, they have a very strong personality and they're bosses. You know, all the top players, they're a boss, all of them. So they don't like to. So it has to be subtle. But again, without the power, you can't work.
So coming back to before becoming a great coach, you built an academy in Paris, next to Paris, that I visited a few years ago. Wonderful. And now you've got one of the best in the world. Before you speak about this, I'd like to get a quick video on your academy, Academy Mouratoglou in Sofia Antipolis. Going on.
dance music.
So tell us about that, because you're a multi-guy. You do many different things and very well. So coach, and you could spend all day long being a coach, and it's wonderful, but you decide to make it more complex and build a massive academy.
Yeah, actually, that was the start. I started with my tennis academy. I was 26, and to explain why I did that is very simple. I dreamt about becoming a professional tennis player. I didn't get the chance to do it, and this created great frustration in me. I was very, very frustrated and very sad and kind of destroyed, because that was my dream. And a few years later, I decided to create that tennis academy, to give others that chance. And in a way, what I couldn't live as a player, I would live it as a coach or through my tennis academy, with bringing kids to the top of the game. So that was my idea. And that's what we did. We did it many, many, many times with a lot of players. In all the age groups, we have players who are top 3 in the world. This year, we had the 2 number ones in junior in the world. We won 4 or 5 Grand Slams this year in juniors. So we have the best level in the world for a tennis academy by very far. That's very exciting. And I discovered also something that is great through this journey with these kids. I discovered that the education, the system that we provide is unbelievable for the kids. And to be honest, when I was 11, I would have dreamt to have something like that. I think it's unbelievable for the kids, because they can, I think it's the best educational system. They have a great school system, because we provide a French and an international school at the academy, and with a very high level, with an incredibly high rate of success. And at the same time, they do sport every day at a high level. And I think to mix sports at a high level and classical education at the same time, reaching then the American universities with scholarship, I think it's one of the best school systems in the world. And I'm very proud that we're able to help kids go through that. And we are with them until they reach the American university, because we negotiate that for them also. So when you enter in our school, you can come at 11 years old, the younger. From 11 years old to being at the university in the US with a scholarship, we take care of you.
Nice. So you mix education, so you offer them a life experience forever. If they're not winning in tennis, they will win at school anyway.
That's very important, because first of all, not everyone is going to be a champion, and the ones who are not champions, they have to have a great life, and that's our responsibility. And second, even if they become champion, when they're 30 to 35 years old, the career is over. There is another life starting. And the second life is going to be longer than the first one. They have to be ready for this one as well. So I think it's very important to be able to have a support with a school that gives you some tools that you're going to need afterwards.
Right, now we're going to change your hat. So you've been the mentalist and the manager of an academy. Now we're going to imagine you as a commissioner of tennis, global tennis. Tennis is facing a lot of challenges. Cosmos has bought the Davis Cup, the soul of the Davis Cup, I would say, if I'm allowed to. You have a very clear vision on the role of the coach towards the players, and we've all seen the final with Serena, the last final of the US Open. So I wonder, I've got a few questions. First one would be, as a commissioner, what changes would you make in competition formats?
So that's a very long question if you want to answer right. I'm not going to be long. I just want to explain how things work in tennis. So tennis is a very traditional sport. And compared to a lot of other sports, which are moving fast, moving forward, modern, tennis is deeply into tradition. And the quantity of traditionalist people in tennis is really high, the percentage of traditionalists, and they're very powerful. We have someone from the ATP here, actually, in the crowd. We spoke about this a bit earlier, but there are too many governing bodies in tennis. You have the ATP, you have the WTA, you have every Grand Slam that is a governing body in itself. You have the International Federation. So, I mean, it's much too much, and everybody takes different decisions, and it's very difficult for everyone to go in the same direction, especially because some of them are very much into tradition, some others less. So it creates a mess. So the first thing I would do, and I know maybe it's utopic, but it's to find a way to have all those people work in the same direction, and create a strong governing body. Otherwise, it's always going to be someone going on the right, the other one going on the left. Doesn't make really sense. Now, we're fighting against, I mean, I'm personally fighting is too strong, but against tradition, because I want our sport to stay the second biggest sport on the planet, keep being very popular, and attract young people, because tennis enthusiasts, tennis fanatics, sorry guys, but they're my age, so they're old. So some of you also. No, but it's true. And we need the people that are from 10 to 25 years old to be also fans of tennis. And for that, we have to adapt to the world. So what is the world asking for? The world is asking for formats, that's true. TV was a format. Nowadays it's more Netflix, Amazon, and all the future Netflix and Amazons, YouTube, Disney tomorrow, and all those guys who are going to create the new formats. And we have to listen to them, because tennis needs sponsors, tennis needs people who watch tennis, they need crowds, and we have to listen to those people. We have to listen to the people who provide those platforms that are going to show tennis. I'm on both sides, so I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm working for TV for 9 years with Eurosport and ESPN. I know what the people are asking for, and I know that tennis is not providing it yet. We need to bring those people to tennis. There are two things that are going to help those people, attract those people. Why do you watch sport? You watch sport first because you want to feel emotion. How do you have emotion? First of all, because you like the people who are playing, or you dislike them. Some of us are old enough to remember Borg and McEnroe playing against each other. So half of the people were Borg fanatics, the other half were McEnroe fanatics. But every time we were watching the match, we were rooting for someone so hard that we had emotions, a lot of emotion. So we get to know the players better. And to know them, we have to let them express themselves on a tennis court. If you cannot break a racket, if you cannot shout, if you cannot show your personality, sorry, but the people who are watching TV, they don't know who you are. They cannot like you or dislike you. So I know that those rules are supposedly made to have this sport clean, but this sport has also to reflect the society.